Are your cold emails getting ignored? Like, you're not alone because this has happened to me. Everyday businesses, myself included, emails are being sent, and most of them either go to spam or they get deleted or they just get read and nothing happens. But what if I told you that there's a few tweaks that you could do to help you double your open rates and book more meetings, even in a tough market like this? Before I bring my guest on, this is the topic that we're talking about. My name is Shri, and I'm a social media manager who helps doctors and lawyers gain an edge online. We help your practice build a social media presence that attracts and retains patients and clients. So, if you're struggling with low response rates, dead end emails that never get open, you want to stay tuned because I'm going to make sure I ask those questions to my guest, who is the founder of Deliverability Ninja. He's helped over, when I found him, he was like, it was 26 companies, but I know it's more than that. So let's go ahead and bring up Namit Jindal. I hope I said his name right, even though I can butcher names. But I want to ask you, when you're not talking about lead generation and emails, what do you like to do for fun?
Ooh, that's an interesting one. So, fun would be so I love strategy games in general. Poker, Catan being two of my favorite games. Catan I've been playing a lot recently. Other than that, working out, I love to travel. I'm a big adrenaline junkie. So I was actually like on a 10-day surfing trip last week. And remote work just, yeah.
Oh, so you like to surf. Okay, for those people who are adventure junkies, please share in the comments, or if you're catching this podcast episode, let us know what is your thing. Like for me, I love to go for walking, I love working out, and I love food. I'm all about how you bring things together so they can make something that you can enjoy. But nobody's here to hear about that. Let's get into this conversation. Now, before you know, opened your own company, how many companies did you work for before you said, you know what, I don't want to work for anybody. I want to work for myself?
One. If you were to not count internships and stuff. I was at a startup with the smartest people I knew, and like I still know, and like that startup got acquired, and right after that, I started my own company. So one.
So let me ask you this.
Mhm.
This company that you worked for, they got acquired, which is pretty amazing. I heard the story, and I want you to share that story because for some people out there, they would never have believed that this could happen. But what
Yeah.
was this company that you worked for?
Yeah. So the company was called Socio. It was a virtual events platform. Basically, when you think about corporate events, they had a platform where you can organize them virtually, and they had an application. Um, just super smart people, worked perfectly. Really enjoyed working with them. We got acquired by Cisco, and it turned out to be WebEx events.
My mouth is dropping. If you are listening to this, this is the possibility. You could have Microsoft knocking on your door. Even if you don't like them, they could be knocking on your door. Now, what was your role in the company and how did it
Mhm.
introduce you to what you do today?
Yeah. So my role was like like I'm really thankful for the role I was given for the company, and I think that formed like a huge base. It was like a founder's office slash rotational role. So my direct manager were the founders themselves, and basically 60% of my time I was handling their projects. So whatever came on their table that I was able to take, I was taking that, learning the ropes. The other 40% I was deciding what roles to take. So I just went to the founders and be like, hey, like I really like the sales team. Can you put me there. Hey, I really like the customer support team. I want to learn how you guys do customer support. Can you put me there? So stuff like that.
So you had the opportunity, you opened your mouth and you said, I want to take on the projects that the founders are getting so that I can
Mm-hmm.
get exposure. I want to say hi to Michael, who's saying happy Thursday. What's up, cuz? Okay. Email marketing. When you were working for the company, what were some things that you were finding out about email marketing that you still do today, and things that you were like, I am not doing this ever again?
Okay, so to understand your question, what were some things that were working then, and what were some things I would never do again?
Yes.
Is that
What through your experience?
I would never introduce myself in the first line of an email, ev- unless like you're like Steve Jobs or something. That's what.
Okay. I'm just thinking about all the emails that I have sent, and why would you
I
not
know,
introduce yourself?
because
This is a cold email.
the,
Nobody knows who you are.
and they don't care. I They don't care if I'm the founder of Deliverability Ninja. Your first line in the email is the most important real estate you have. Like, could you imagine like the biggest space you have and like you don't even use it? People read your email for less than 3 seconds. Like they have a very short attention span, especially like the more cold emails when you're reaching out to C-suite and stuff. They don't care what your name is. They don't unless they know you personally. So like, and your signature already has all your details. So yeah,
We already got Ashwin. Laugh out loud. I should learn not to do that. I agree. Like, don't do that. That is a huge tip for all of you who are out there sending emails. Do not put don't introduce yourself. Just get to the point. Is that what you're
mhm.
saying?
Oh, 100%, yeah. And it's really hard to write good long emails. It's extremely tough to write good. Like 95% of the emails we send are less than 120 words. So that's like 4 lines.
I'm sitting here, I'm thinking about my email list, and at this point, if they're on my email list, they have been on the email list. But this is for someone who's completely cold. So let's get into this conversation, because I probably have like a million people who are going to be listening in later. And let's do this, because Ash is giving us a wonderful example of not to do. I am Ash and I am a blah, blah, blah. Such nonsense this is. Now that I think about it. So
I love that. Yeah.
what does a broken outbound sell like? So think about it. The question is, I have so many questions. I'm trying to get really clear on this one. It's about the sales outbound. This is a cold email
Mhm,
going out, and you are trying to connect with this person.
mhm.
What have you noticed is broken in their sales process, and why they're not getting the response that they think they should?
Okay. So I can talk about this for hours. So I'm gonna like go high level and then ask me whatever you think people would want to know. So cold email general system has three things that work. One, who you are sending it to. Second, what you are saying in that email. And third is like the actual delivery mechanism, which is deliverability. So these are the three things. And to be honest, like either one of them can be broken. You could be like, you're sending it to the wrong people. You can be saying the wrong things. Or you could like, maybe all your emails are just landing in the spam folder. So when you think about cold email, either one of these could be broken.
And when you come into a company, let's say company ABC, and they're
Mhm.
having these problems, what is one thing that you would do, because I don't want you to share all the juiciness, because I want people to book
Yeah.
calls with you. What's one, how would you fix this problem?
So the first thing that we need to do is like actually figure out what the problem is. Because I just explained three major different problems. And to be honest, like most sometimes like people have all three. Um, and then once we figure out what the problem is, we can go about fixing it.
So we really have to sit down and understand what the problem is.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
do you find that the problems, a lot of the problems are they're not talking to the right person? Like, meaning they don't understand who their ideal client is.
Um, Most mature companies understand that. Like they know who their ideal client is. It's just about like it's become relatively easy to find emails off the internet. So they just email the wrong people because they're trying to do it in bulk. Like it's relatively easy to find like 1,000 emails and send them emails ASAP. But what really happens is like they know who they want to reach out to, but out of those 1,000 people, 500 are like not even great fits. So that's the problem.
Thank you, Aaron, for calling me a legend. He says, well, hello, hello, Shri. Great to see you again, legend. Well, it's great to see you too, Aaron. So we first need to figure out not to buy emails because there are a lot of emails. So let me ask you this. What are some great ways to collect emails?
You should buy emails, you just need to buy the correct ones. Like Zoom Info, Apollo, Crunchbase, so many databases out there to like actually find and purchase emails. You just need to make sure you're buying the right ones. Like 95% of your lead list or 95% of the people you email to need to be people you can actually sell something to. Like when we email people for Deliverability Ninja, and if you end up emailing a bad fit company that I could have probably eliminated, like just for example, like we typically avoid working with companies over 1,000 employees just because like it's a cybersecurity issue, sales cycles are longer, really annoying to deal with. So if I email a bunch of people from like 1,000 employee plus companies, it's just going to be a very hard conversation. It's not going to be worth it for them or for me. Or we don't work with B2C companies. So I need to make sure that my list is less than 1,000 employees, B2B companies, and then take it from there.
Now, for those who do own, let's say they're a medical doctor, they have a practice. Now they're talking to patients. They
Mhm.
don't necessarily always own, they don't, or don't even have an email list because they're not thinking about that. So, for let's say a doctor comes, what is one
Mhm.
thing you would suggest to them to help them grow their email list? Like maybe they don't want to buy because obviously anybody can be a patient.
Yeah, so for them, it's so that's a B2C company. You never send B2C cold emails. So I would probably be like, hey, like when people come and start collecting their emails, but like I'm not even sure that like email is probably the best channel for them. Like they're probably better off doing social media, to be honest.
So here's where it comes really funny. I'm glad you brought that up because although you have social media, you don't necessarily own the audience and you
Mhm.
can't even cultivate a relationship with them. Because even though they may not be your ideal patient, maybe they live in another country, but maybe they have a family member that lives in the city and then they're on the email and they really like what you say and they refer you. So that's the only difference. Like this applies even to law offices. If you don't own, like you don't own your audience unless they're on an email
Yeah,
list.
100%. I agree, but it's just harder to email individuals on their personal accounts. When you're the law audience, you might be working. When you're a law firm, you might be working with businesses. So like B2B businesses always they read more, they get responded to more. Um, If you're like a doctor, probably best idea to just collect emails when you're sending them reports and then add them to your email list. But in that case, buying emails doesn't work.
No, it doesn't. It's more like asking for permission. Can I have your email? Then I'm going to give you this beautiful freebie. And then there's like the sequence that comes after, which I now remember. Don't put your first name and what you do in the first line.
Yeah, 100%.
Now, you focus on automating processes. These larger companies, are they really doing, do they have like a manual process, or are they using something that helps them send it out in automation?
So, um, so here's a little bit of what I do, and we help send cold emails at scale. What that means is, if you were to write a cold email to anyone, right? Like, let's say you want to work with like you, for example, for your company in specific. I think that's a great example. So you run a social media company. Yeah. And let's say you want to email a company, what you would do is you would email this founder, you would go to the social media page, you could probably reference their last post. You would say, hey, like you barely grew in the past 6 months and stuff like that. That'd be a great email to send. Like, hey, founder, I saw, I noticed that you guys have not been posting enough. You barely grew in the past 6 months. It's a great channel you're not leveraging. You guys need help. That'd be a great email. What we would do is we can do that at scale for you. We can find 1,000 companies, have AI research their Instagram accounts each, and send 1,000 emails at once to people that leveraging, saying the same thing, well, saying, talking about the last post, where they've grown, how many Instagram followers they have. And that's what we operationalize and automate. And then we can also send it to your CRM and like do all that stuff. So now what we've done is like you could have manually gone through each company like we spoke about and send them 100 emails to get you sales. But now we've just done it at scale. And that's the whole part of like the operations and automating that we do.
I love that you explain that. So I want to go ahead and ask, so how do people reach out to you, connect with you so they can book an appointment, especially if they want to start an email campaign or sending out emails and they're the right size company for you?
Yeah. So most B2B companies we work with typically like working if you guys have like, if you have all the marketing materials ready. Otherwise, it's just harder. Like you have a great website and stuff. If you think you have a good offer, the best way is to connect with me on LinkedIn or on the website. If you just need casual help, feel free to send me a message on LinkedIn and I'm very responsive there.
And I'll make sure that when you are listening to this podcast episode or catching the replay, even the live, the links are going to be in the comments or in the description, so that way you can go ahead and book your call. Now, I want to ask you, as an
Mhm.
entrepreneur, what are some things you wish you knew before you started your business?
Um, Two things. Don't go crazy with spending when you start making money. I think that's like that's so I think that's like I've spoken to like five different people my age who did this. Once you start, like once your agency starts growing, you just start clicking buy this software, buy that software, and like don't even care. That definitely cuts into revenues and profits. That's one. Um, and the second one is like sales velocity. So again, super specific for agency owners. It's like, hey, like I see a lot of people, again, I made this mistake. It's like when you get like 5, 10 clients or whatever, you just start like completely focusing on fulfillment and you reduce your, you don't like actually maintain your sales process. And then like some clients maybe leave you if you have like a 10% churn or whatever your churn is, you're going to realize that like, oh shit, I need more clients again. So you keep oscillating between like customer fulfillment and sales when you should be doing both at all times.
The both points are like things that I know there's a few people out there who needed to hear this just because it seems really good. Like you got the money. But then there's always the what happens if the client leaves or we don't think because we're such it's such a good relationship and that and doing these like interviewing so many entrepreneurs it has caused me to be aware of that to constantly be thinking about what could happen tomorrow they
Mhm.
could leave but today they're here now I want to get back to more of what you do and just so people know that you are the right choice what are some things that I can do to change so that my email doesn't go into the spam box or spam folder?
Hmm. So this gets a little technical, but ideally you should not. So you should not be sending emails from your main domain. So this could. So my main domain, my primary domain is deliverabilityninja.com. Do not send cold emails from your primary domain. So I would never send cold emails from Namit at deliverabilityninja.com. Buy additional domains like get deliverability ninja, try deliverability ninja, and send emails from them. That's gonna be like a big one. Just because like when you send emails, people will mark you as spam. So people just do that. It's a normal thing. You can send the best emails in the world. And after that, like your domain's reputation goes down. So you gotta save your primary domain.
That's such a big nugget because I use my I use my domain and I never thought to get another one just because I mean, if they didn't respond, they didn't respond. But that's a big one. And if you didn't know to do that, or if you did, just let us know in the comments because that's huge. I never thought to change the domain, try something different so people would actually open the email because sometimes we just block people because we forget that we signed up for them. And when it comes to sending emails, what have you started noticing? Or because I know we've been taught before, like you want to send multiple emails a day or multiple emails a week. But what have you found as the sweet spot, just based on your experience? How many times a week should one send emails?
How many to one person? Is that the question? How many times should you email one person?
Yes.
We send at most two emails to people. So we don't send more than two emails to any one individual.
And then what if they do open the emails? How many more times do you send an email?
Just two. Either you reply and do, or we won't send you another email. Like this differs from company to company. Obviously, it also differs like how big your target market is. But if you have a big target market, like you don't need to send more than two emails to any one individual. It's better off sending emails to other people.
So your strategy is if you're sending cold emails, just send no more than two. But if
Mhm.
they're on your email list, let's say they
Mhm.
opted to be on the email list, how
Yeah.
many times should one send emails in a week?
I mean, essentially, depends on the email list, right? Like we don't do email marketing. So I don't do email marketing unless like it's from my own newsletter. And that I send like once a week or like even fewer just because like yeah.
Now that's a good one. That's a good one because like we're sending out cold emails. We don't know who we're talking to. This is all brand new. Like I'm learning something all the time and I love it because how can we get better? I've heard somebody tell me, you want to send at least 4. I'm like, why would I send 4? It doesn't make sense. They're not even opening them versus when you send 2, at least you know and you're not wasting your time on them. So if a company is considering hiring someone to improve their outbound sales or
Mhm.
for cold emails, what qualities should they look for? Let's say maybe they just don't want to work with you, which I don't see why they wouldn't. I mean, you're super cool, but just some red flags to keep in mind.
Um, Sending cold emails is like 50% technical and 50% sales. So you need someone who understands both sides of the world. That's very important. Um, Probably someone you can see past emails of and past results. That is always helpful. It's hard to say red flags because like people in sales can bullshit easily, and if you don't know anything about cold email, it's going to be very tough. Yeah, I think like they should know domain rotation. You should ideally like before hiring someone for it, like know a little bit about it yourself, so you can ask them questions. You can go to my YouTube channel, probably watch a video, ask some questions.
Ooh, and there you have it. Go ahead and just, watch Namit's YouTube and then just go hire him. Now, as I know that you don't do everything, you have a team.
Mhm.
And running a team is something, it's, leadership role. And what is something that you learned about hiring and even just running and managing a team?
Hiring, culture, and personality matter a lot more than you think when it comes to hiring. I didn't believe that a lot. Like always, like people who just like extremely passionate just perform so much better for some reason. And that's something I learned about hiring that was new and like surprising to me. And just about leading, like essentially when people don't work, they're like a lot of times like you gotta understand what's happening and why they're not finishing stuff or why they're not performing at their best. Like whether it's like they didn't understand the task, they just didn't know when to give it to you, they didn't want to do it, they didn't like the task. So like you really need to understand all that stuff before like actually like taking decisions. So ask good questions as a leader.
I agree with that. Like I've learned with my own team, everybody works differently. And you have to understand
Mhm.
how everybody works so that you can get things done in an efficient manner. And
Mhm.
asking questions helps a lot, especially when you're really agitated because you needed something on a certain date. It's like, okay, instead of yelling, what can we do differently so that this doesn't happen next time?
Yeah.
So let me ask you again, how can one connect with you, get in touch with you? I mean, guys, you could just say that you saw him on this podcast or you heard the podcast on all the platforms.
Yeah. To get in touch with me, probably like the website's the easiest if you want like a professional call. And if it's just a casual message, you want to say hi, or if you have a couple of questions, LinkedIn's the best.
And there you have it, guys, where you can reach out to Namit especially if you are looking into setting up, going into cold emails, improving your sales process in that aspect. Reach out to him, ask him the questions that I didn't ask because I really wanted you to get to know him. But this is what we are going to do. We're going to stop here and we're going to go to Instagram. I'm inviting you to come and join us there where we'll get to know more about Namit. But I want to say thank you to everybody who joined in on the live, catching the replay, listening to the podcast episode. And I want to thank you, Namith, for coming on. Guys, he was supposed to be on in October, and life had a different uh, journey for me at that time, but he's been very understanding and patient. And here we are today. And I'm so honored to have you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And guys, until my next episode, which is next week with another wonderful guest, have a wonderful evening or morning wherever you're tuning in. Bye.